10 Reasons AAA Gaming Sucks in 2026.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fix Double X. Today we're talking about something that a lot of gamers are thinking, but the industry doesn't want to admit. AAA gaming in 2026 is broken. Not all games are bad. Great games still exist, mostly from indie and mid-tier studios, but the big budget side of the industry is creatively bankrupt, technologically bloated, and completely out of touch with the average player. So today we're starting our countdown of the 10 reasons AAA gaming sucks in 2026. Let's get into it.
Reason number 10. Ray tracing, the most overhyped feature in gaming.
Ray tracing is the perfect example of everything wrong with modern AAA priorities. For years we were told ray tracing would revolutionize gaming. It was supposed to change everything: lighting, immersion, realism, the next giant leap forward. And what did we actually get? Slightly nicer reflections in puddles and shinier floors, at the cost of massive performance hits. Most games look 90% the same with ray tracing turned off, but run twice as fast. That alone should tell you everything you need to know. Ray tracing wasn't about improving games, it was about selling hardware. Nvidia pushed RTX like a miracle feature to force GPU upgrades, and now they've basically moved on to AI. We're watching graphics card launches become more about neural cores than gaming performance. When the GPU companies care more about AI than games, that's a massive red flag for the future of PC gaming. Ray tracing's real impact hasn't been better gameplay. It's been higher budgets and higher system requirements. Studios now spend millions implementing tech that barely changes the experience, while gamers are told they need $1,500 graphics cards just to play at decent frame rates. If you could turn ray tracing off on consoles, you could get 60 to 120 frames per second on Xbox Series or PlayStation 5. It's flashy tech with minimal payoff, and it perfectly represents modern AAA excess.
Reason number 9. Lack of creativity and new ideas.
AAA gaming in 2026 has a severe creativity problem. The industry used to be built on risk-taking, new ideas, weird concepts, bold experiments. Now it's built on sequels, remakes, reboots, and safe bets. Look at Sony. In the entire PlayStation 5 generation, nearly 5 years, they've introduced only 3 major new first-party IPs. Compare that to the PlayStation 4 era, which gave us multiple fresh franchises that became instant classics. Instead of building the next generation of iconic series, we're stuck in an endless loop of The Last of Us again, God of War again, Horizon again, Spider-Man again. Great games, but the industry can't survive on recycling forever. Electronic Arts is the same story. FIFA, Madden, Battlefield, over and over. Innovation is minimal because the existing franchises print money regardless of quality. Ubisoft might be the worst offender. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, The Division, reskinned endlessly with minor mechanical tweaks and massive open maps filled with the same checklist content. AAA studios no longer chase great ideas. They chase safe returns for investors. Meanwhile, the most original games in the industry are coming from smaller studios willing to take risks, because the big publishers are too afraid to fail. That's not how great art is made. And games are supposed to be art.
Reason number 8. Too much politics in games.
Most gamers don't care who you sleep with. Seriously, nobody is sitting there angry that a game has gay characters, bi characters, or different lifestyles represented. The problem is when games stop telling stories and start delivering political lectures. Modern AAA writing is obsessed with pushing progressive politics into every setting, every franchise, and every sequel, even when it doesn't fit the world or the tone. It feels forced, unnatural, and distracting. Writers no longer ask, "What makes a great character?" They ask, "What message are we pushing this time?" Even worse, classic franchises are being rewritten to remove established male leads and replace them with new characters designed primarily to check identity boxes rather than serve the story. Instead of creating new IPs with diverse casts, studios hijack existing series and retrofit modern politics into worlds that were never built for it. This doesn't create better stories, it creates resentment and division inside the community. Gamers play games to escape real-world politics, not to be reminded of them every time they pick up a controller. Representation works when it's organic. It fails when it's ideological. And right now, AAA games feel less like entertainment and more like corporate HR training videos with guns.
Reason number 7. Subscriptions have turned consoles into rental devices.
Subscriptions have quietly turned modern consoles into glorified rental devices. If your hardware is not subsidized by the service, then the real price of your console is not $500. It's $500 plus years of mandatory fees. PlayStation Plus now costs roughly $80 to $100 a year just to play online and access basic features. Over a standard 5-year console generation, that adds $400 to $500 to the cost of the system. Xbox is even worse. Between Game Pass tiers and online access, players can spend anywhere from $120 to $360 per year. You're no longer just buying a console, you're paying ongoing rent just to use it.
Reason number 6. Game pricing is out of control while budgets explode.
AAA game pricing is completely out of control, and developers have only themselves to blame. Modern AAA games now cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make, yet massive portions of those budgets go to outside consulting firms like Sweet Baby Inc., hired to reshape stories and characters in ways many players never asked for. Then publishers turn around and demand $80 or more for new releases, and even worse, $70 to $80 remasters of games like The Last of Us Part 2 and Horizon Zero Dawn, which are barely 5 years old, or in Nintendo's case, full-price re-releases of 20-year-old titles like Skyward Sword HD. On top of that, special editions of games like Starfield and Call of Duty routinely hit $120 to $150 with Day 1 DLC. If the real version costs $150, that's the true price, and gamers are finally saying no.
Reason number 5. Hardware prices are skyrocketing.
AAA gaming isn't just expensive on the software side, console hardware is costing more than ever before. The 9th generation consoles are the first in history to go up in price after launch, not down. Xbox Series X and Series S have seen multiple price hikes, with the Series X now around $600 to $650 and Series S up from $299 to nearly $400, shattering the old expectation of price drops over time. Sony has raised PS5 prices too, with digital and standard models going up till $1.50 or more in many regions. Meanwhile, Nintendo's Switch 2 launched at about $449, significantly higher than the original Switch's entry price, meaning kids and younger gamers face a much steeper cost just to get into current gaming, on top of games and subscriptions.
Reason number 4. AAA has stopped creating new IPs.
The AAA industry has completely failed to deliver new ideas. Instead of building the next generation of iconic franchises, publishers are trapped in an endless loop of sequels and reboots. Almost every major release today is part of a series that started a decade or more ago. This isn't just a first-party problem, it's industry-wide. Electronic Arts survives almost entirely on FIFA, Madden, Battlefield, and Apex. Ubisoft cycles endlessly through Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and The Division. Even when they claim something is new, it's usually just an old formula with a new coat of paint. AAA used to create the future of gaming. Now it just resells the past.
Reason number 3. Games barely look or play better than last gen.
One of the biggest lies in modern AAA gaming is the idea that we're living in a golden age of technical progress. In reality, games have barely improved since the 8th generation. Compare early PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X titles to late PlayStation 4 games, and the difference is shockingly small. In some cases, games from the PS4 era actually look cleaner, run smoother, and feel more polished than current releases. We were promised massive leaps in destruction, physics, AI, and interactivity. Instead, we got slightly better lighting and higher resolution. AAA studios didn't invest in revolutionary gameplay systems. They poured money into ray tracing and consulting firms. So what suffered? Game design, innovation, fun. The technology moved sideways, not forward.
Reason number 2. The economy is crushing gamers.
One thing the AAA industry refuses to acknowledge is reality outside of Wall Street. On paper, the economy looks great. In real life, it doesn't. For most people, wages haven't kept up with the cost of living. Rent, food, gas, and utilities are all more expensive, while job security is weaker than it used to be. Younger gamers are struggling just to afford basics, let alone $500 consoles and $80 games. The industry acts like gamers have unlimited disposable income. They don't. When publishers raise prices, add subscriptions, and sell $150 editions, they aren't just testing loyalty, they're ignoring economic reality. AAA gaming is pricing itself out of its own audience.
Reason number 1, corporate greed broke the industry.
Everything wrong with AAA gaming in 2026 leads back to one root cause: corporate greed. Gaming used to be driven by creative people trying to make great games. Today, it's driven by executives trying to maximize quarterly profits. Publishers no longer ask, "Is this fun?" They ask, "Will this monetize?" That's how we ended up with $80 games, $150 special editions, battle passes, subscriptions, live service slop, and unfinished releases held together with patches. That's why studios chase trends instead of innovation, push sequels instead of new ideas, and prioritize shareholders over players. Corporate greed is why ray tracing was oversold, why budgets exploded, why games are filled with monetization hooks, and why creativity collapsed. It didn't happen by accident. The industry wasn't broken, it was broken on purpose. It would seem that indie developers are the last great hope for Western gaming. On the hardware side, we still have PCs. While computers require more technical know-how, they also offer far greater customization and freedom. On the console side, it's very likely that Sony and Nintendo of Japan will eventually see the error of their Western strategies through declining profits. Even for console gaming, there is still hope. Indie developers are rushing in to deliver new and innovative experiences on every platform. And that's it for Fix XX, the pulse of the indie scene. Hit like for the rise of indie devs, and subscribe for more indie content.